few days ago, I released this farm design, and there have been a couple of contributions in the Discord as well as other things I may not have realized at the time. I want to go over them as well as show other ways you can make this farm faster and better. When I designed the farm, I didn't want to make it really expensive. There are a lot of reasons for this. This is meant to be a starter farm, and the way I went about this definitely wasn't the best approach, but it definitely was still cheap for me, and it only took about 8 hours to make this farm, including destroying the end city that I had. The trapdoors here can be really anything like slabs. It doesn't really matter that they're trapdoors, but I wanted that for my own personal decorations. The trapdoors out here don't have to be trapdoors. It can be any non-spawnable block like glass panes or buttons. That is up to you. I still think the trapdoors look really good. That's the only reason I did this, is I wanted a bit of style with the design, as well as I still wanted to keep it within being a cheap or farm. The other reason I actually have this long chain of observers here is to actually help with the despawning of Endermen and reducing the need to actually have to despawn around the end city itself. So you can see that I have a really high render distance here, and you can still see some of these end cities here, and you won't need to do that. The higher up you have this farm, the better. It means that there's less water or tearing a part of the end city that you have to do, meaning less Endermen have a chance of spawning, and you set up a lot higher away from the farm. I think all of these things really help each other out. I decided to use water because I thought it was really fun, and I wanted to use lava or something else like that. But a lot of people wanted to know of a different layout, and this is definitely a layout you can choose. I think that the more platforms you have, the faster this farm will be, and I'll show that in a bit. But I also want to make sure that there's nothing else spawning around here, so these glass panes are here, as well as there's glass panes around all of this, and on the outside if you want to be cheap. I wanted to use these panes because end cities spawn with a lot of glass, and if you go through just a few cities while you're waiting to get an elytra and stuff like that, and you're taking a silk pick to every glass block you find, you will actually have more than enough glass to do this. I think I had to hit 3 end cities before I found my first elytra, and that would have given me at least a row of glass to start this project, which was all this design took. This one, however, is almost double the glass cost, which is why I replaced some of the glass panes here with trapdoors. I didn't mind farming a little bit of wood on my way here. I could have saved myself a little bit of time by using some of the end city slabs or purple slabs. Again, that will be up to you and your discretion. The platform here is an 11 by 11. If you count the outside, it's a 13 by 13. It could probably be 1 block wider, but I believe the end city towers are odd center, so 11 by 11 seems to fit the best. A lot of end cities will generate, and this is still a medium-sized end city to me. There's a couple of treasure rooms right here as well, so this is still a really good end city. I don't think there's a boat on this one, which is kind of sad. But if I were to run a command with world edit, and that would be this command here, there are 200 glass blocks here. So if I give myself 204, and I go to a crafting table, I will have made that many glass panes off of this end city alone. It's nice to find end cities where the pillar is even higher in the air than normal. The pillar I am using on the Patreon server is in this tower here. It's a little bit like it starts here and ends a little bit above this one. But this is a small tower right here, and this is good if you want a small scale farm and you don't want to do a whole lot of work. As well as this city is actually not going to be that hard to take apart. This would be like a 2-hour deconstruction, including the boat. The boat has to go. If you do not want to destroy the end city, you have to waterlog slab and get all of this stuff as water, as much of it as you can, and you have to make sure that the shulkers have nowhere to teleport, including the underneath of here, which can prove to be a bit difficult. You can do you can flood the inside of this, and then break the blocks on the outside and let the water flow downwards if you wanted to. But again, I think that it is best to just destroy the whole city. I think it's a lot less work than trying to make sure you've spawn-proofed it correctly. It would just be faster to destroy every block around here that you don't need. This is probably the best end city you will ever find when it comes to making a shulker farm. This is going to be 2 hours, maybe 3, to get this entire farm done. But this is really low to the ground, and it might require a bit more work around here. So that observer chain that I had at the beginning of this video, I explained, you can actually make that as tall as you want. It doesn't matter. You can make it as short as you want if you want it to be lower. But this is going to be a very quick process, and it's still a small tower, so it would be one of the slower farms, but it would still have enough potential to reach a decent enough rates that this would probably be worth the effort. On the other extreme of end cities, you can actually find a double high tower twice. This is the luckiest I have ever seen in end city, but it looks like this one has a lot of work to tear it down. This is going to be a lot of stuff to remove, but it also comes with another benefit. If we run our command here, there's 363 blocks of glass in this city alone. And that, if I give myself that, 363, that's almost 16 stacks of panes right there in this city alone after I destroy everything. You'd want to have your first layer of this farm, which I'm showing off this new design. You'd want to have the first layer right here, and then you want to remove every single other block in this city. I'm going to get rid of this other tower here in just a moment as well. So we want to get rid of every single block here. As you can see, there are a lot of shulkers here. And the lower you go with this, the harder it can be. It's also easier if you have a second person. Not everybody does play multiplayer, but if you do, it is great to have a second player at the bottom loading all the Endermen and just make sure they're safe, or use a Carpetmod or however you feel like playing the game. Make sure you have a second person here, and you can actually keep all the Endermen spawned and keep mob cap full. Shulkers replace Enderman spawns, so it will try to spawn Endermans before it will try to spawn Shulkers. That's how I think the Carpetmod thing works. If anybody knows better than that, please correct me in the comment section. I do not know for sure if that is the case. The other thing I do know about Shulkers is that they do not spawn in vertical shape. They will not spawn sideways. They will not spawn like this with carpet. They would rather spawn like this on a solid block. They will not try to spawn on the top of stairs if I am correct. So again, if any of this information is incorrect, please let me know in the comments. I will fix that. But I think that this is how they work. And, I mean, as I can see, like right here, this is a great example. These shulkers are not natural. This is where they spawn. But as you can see, there's none of them are on this side of the building. None of them are inside here like that. They're all facing on the very top of this. And that is how the shulkers spawn. So I'm going to get rid of this end city now. And I'm going to get both of these wired up and hooked up to show you what this farm could produce. Now with both farms running and 2 players AFKing it, I could probably route this over to here or route this one over to here. That's not really important. We're hitting about 2,150 shells. It's a little bit more than that. This farm could be a lot better if I could kill them faster, but again, this was meant to be a starter farm and not an endgame farm. It would be best to use rails and minecarts with hoppers on them, much like what Jay has, and I will link a video to that if you want to make something super fast, super scaled. But this right here is kind of the limit, and for the amount of work you're doing for this, 2,000 shells an hour is still quite significant, and that's really nice. That's over a shulker box an hour, but it's not really worth this much effort for this little of a farm. But this is the ability of this farm. Drowning them was more of a gag than anything, and I wanted to use the drowning as a way to actually slow them down. I didn't really want the farm to be super powered. So I actually used this as a mechanic to actually slow the rates of the farm down on purpose. The glass here is actually meant to stop the shulkers from being able to see you. So if you jump off of either of these AFK platforms and you're jumping down here to collect your items, I want to make sure the shulkers can't see me, and I don't want to get shot by bullets and everything like that, because once they start firing their bullets around, it doesn't really ever stop. And that can mean that shulkers are in here getting shot at, and then shells could end up in places you don't want them. It's highly unlikely that that would happen, but if shulkers see you and then they start a war, it is a never-ending war. Otherwise, I will link this schematic as well in case anybody wants to build a bigger version of the tiny one I had at the beginning of this. Again, you can change the distance of these observer chains as much as you want. The timer here, however, is basically near perfect with the stack and 16 items here. That is the time it takes for them to drown. And then that's the time this farm runs on. So this is a very slow farm for many reasons. But if you want something faster, I'll have a link for that as well. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys for watching this.